Whoa.
Hey
Hey
guys.
guys, guess who went viral again? This time, it's because yours truly got mentioned in a post by one of the world's biggest political streamers. I mean, I don't know how true that is now, because they got kicked off of Twitch and they're streaming on Kick now, and I don't really know how big the audience is on Kick, certainly nowhere near what Twitch was, but I'm talking about Destiny. Everyone's favorite deadbeat dad had my name in their mouth because, well, let's just roll the intro and get into it. Okay, let's start at the beginning. The first thing I want to say is that I'm not a fan of Destiny. The only time I was ever a fan of Destiny was after I saw his Jubilee debate. And you gotta admit that he was pretty early on that train, you know? That's from like, what, a year ago? In retrospect, it kind of seems like his debate style was akin to like a Ben Shapiro. More just trying to say things that are as provocative as possible to get reactions out of the right. And in a lot of ways, that's exactly what he's still doing. And that's kind of why he got kicked off of Twitch in the first place, and not just because he was soliciting underage girls. So Destiny's most recent controversy were these chat logs where he said that Hassan Piker, who is another political Twitch streamer from the US, but someone who hasn't been kicked off of Twitch yet, I say yet because, you know, it's a capitalist whole company, so, you know, anything goes. Whatever's best for their bottom line. But Destiny basically advocated that the things that Hassan Piker says are apparently so foul that they would justify you or any person walking right up to them and, you know, unaliving them. I don't know if YouTube is going to, like, censor. I don't know what the okay words are. But as an internet personality, I have been threatened, you know? There was this one time a few years ago where this loser account, I remember the name, it was @BruiserBunnies, said that I should get jumped at a furry convention. And then their account got suspended. And they started crying on their alternate account about how I was, like, impacting a black woman's ability to earn income from her business. Well, maybe don't use your business account to threaten people. No sympathy here. But yeah, so same principle. So I found it completely disgusting that someone this big, this prominent, would say something so callous and careless as if the same sort of like extremist rhetoric couldn't then also be used on Destiny, right? Like, who remembers what Destiny said about the guy that got shot at the Trump rally?
If one of you were in the crowd and you're a conservative fan of mine and you end up, you know, getting blown away or whatever the fuck, I'm making fun of you the next day on Twitter. I am, 100%.
So Destiny's obviously not someone with a very big sympathy part in their brain. They don't seem to have a lot of good instincts in general, because, for one, they completely abandoned their son, and their poor teenage son has, like, gone all the way off the Hitler train to try and get his dad's attention online. It's kind of, like, embarrassing for Destiny. I don't really blame the kid as much, because obviously we have seen time and time again that young people go down internet rabbit holes that radicalize, you know, whether you leave YouTube on autoplay or whatever. So I actually really hate all these, like, drama farming YouTube channels that are just, like, straight up calling Destiny's kid Hitler. Like, that's so gross, guys. He's like 13 or 14. Like, he'll grow. Are you the same person now that you were at 14? And did you have a dad in your life? Those things make a difference. Amidst this drama, I realized that I was following Destiny on X/Twitter. You know, social media is not an airport. You don't have to announce your departure. But I kind of was like, well, Destiny seems like a guy who may or may not glance at his DMs on occasion. And maybe, just maybe, if he hears from a relatively popular furry musician that his language is gross and cruel and inexcusable, that he might see the light. Obviously, I am being sarcastic. I don't really know what motivated that DM, you know? I'm sure people would say they don't know what motivates a lot of my social media activity, besides just, you know.
If you're going to cause mischief in the presence of a mischief god, I expect a certain standard.
I think the real question is, how did I make Destiny so, like, upset that he screenshotted my DM and put it on blast to his ever-decreasing fan base? Like, maybe he was a fan, you know? Maybe I was his Lola Bunny. Or maybe he likes Paws, I don't know. Maybe he likes quality furry pop music. But either way, you know, he posted my screenshot and said, lost a real one today. And yeah, you sure did. But like I said, not a real fan. I just liked parts of his debate, but not all of it. And you know, like a year ago, it was a lot harder to find these sorts of like provocative, progressive voices. But now, you know, I'm getting better at discerning what real progress looks like and what provocation looks like. Just because you make someone angry doesn't necessarily facilitate a positive outcome, you know, or doesn't change anyone's mind. Progress and actually, like, you know, pitching solutions is better than, you know, rhetoric, in my opinion. And I've also seen that Destiny is very much in bed with H3H3 or Ethan Klein. As a person who grew up on YouTube in the 2010s, I was and am an iDubbbz fan, and I really like the shift in iDubbbz's content lately. But when I found out that Ethan's wife had served in the IDF, that immediately gave me the ick, and I was never a fan of Ethan either. And it was pretty much for that, like, obviously, I always found the Vape Nation stuff to be really cringe. Even if it's like, you know, ironic, humor, satire cringe, it's still just cringe. So I was never a fan of Ethan, not a real fan of Destiny. I have literally never tuned in to watch any of the political streamers live, even though I like Hassan Piker. I would just watch the highlights on YouTube. You know, some of us actually have lives and jobs and things to do. I stay in the loop on news, but I can't afford to just, you know, watch a guy talk for 8 hours. You know, I got so much work to do, so many uploads to make. Now I'm just making fun of myself. Though I actually kind of have been productive in different ways lately, since this is sort of a political video of sorts, I guess I can say that I actually have a political podcast where me and my partner take off the full furry getup and just go at these global issues as human beings. You know, we're all human beings at the end of the day, whether I'm wearing this costume or not, there's still a person underneath. It's just important not to forget people's humanity, you know? Which is something that Destiny has proven time and time again that he does not understand. On the internet, it is incredibly easy to forget that there are other human beings with feelings, you know? Whether it's someone as disconnected as rich white liberal Destiny, or this trans black woman who used her business account to threaten me and then faced consequences for it. I mentioned this on an episode of the podcast, actually, where I said that, like, you have to reconvince and remind people of your humanity. Like, obviously, it sucks, and it's not at all me trying to say, like, oh yes, this group of people is not human until they make a compelling argument. No. Like, brief history lesson, the American Civil War was about slavery, but it was really kicked off by the book Uncle Tom's Cabin, which was written by a white woman from Pennsylvania. Even Abraham Lincoln is quoted as saying, well, you're the lady who started this old war. Even Abraham Lincoln recognized that it was her book that told the story of escaped slaves helping each other to survive and get away from the plantations that humanized the African American race in the eyes of a great deal of Americans. And sadly, we just don't have that sort of, like, national media thing anymore. You know, what do they call it? Like a zeitgeist, sort of. The monoculture, you know? But, like, I'm talking about a book from the 1800s. Most Americans today don't even know how to read, so God knows how they are in handling nuance or even just knowing their own history. I mean, if they did know their own history, perhaps we wouldn't all be repeating it right now. Looking forward to the Great Depression Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. I wanted to see how much mileage I could get out of this Destiny drama. I posted in his subreddit. I said, you know, wow, it's pretty interesting that my furry butt unfollowing him warranted a post. How often does he do this? You know, how often does he post about people that unfollow and tell him about it? No one really answered me. People were just sort of like, well, you know, you messaged him first, so, you know, which, yeah, I did, but, like, that wasn't the question. And I can kind of read a lot into the mindset of people in Destiny's community based on the Reddit comments. Like, you have people holding themselves back from using slurs. There was this really ridiculous post. Someone was, like, asking the dumbest hypothetical I've ever seen in my life, which was crude, and perhaps I'll censor some of the language when I put it up, but in essence, the person said, okay, you're a furry, but this isn't about you being a furry. If you could go in a room and, you know, do the wild thing with any animal you're choosing for an infinite amount of money, would you do it? Well, you see, I gave it a downvote because it's just stupid. It's a bad premise. It's like, would you do a terrible thing for infinite money? Isn't this like basically the Israeli mindset? What if you did a horrible, terrible thing, but you got infinite money for it? Like, this is literally America. And you might wonder, well, what was the tangible bump for me? Because, you know, there's always a chance that even an audience as small now as Destiny's is, there's always a chance that I could peel off some people, you know. They get exposed to how cool the furry fandom can be and how, you know, totally woke we are, guys. That's the name of my podcast, by the way. It's Woke in the West. We're like trying to find the true meaning of wokeness. What does it mean? Because it seems to change constantly. But anyway, I didn't really have a good discussion with anyone on the Reddit, but in terms of tangible numbers, well, I did see a little bit of a bump on Spotify. I've said it repeatedly in public, but I kind of see the algorithm as not being smart enough to discern good and bad publicity. The algorithm just recognizes when a name is, you know, coming up more. And amidst the drama, I got added to a playlist on Spotify, an algorithm playlist called
Whispers of the Current.
And if that's not some AI crap, I don't know what is. I was looking at this playlist. I don't use Spotify because they're an evil corporation, and their CEO just took out $600 million of the company's stock to buy a drone warfare company. And this playlist has, like, you know, the biggest songs from like Selena Gomez and Justin Bieber and whatever, and then there I am. So there's like definitely like an SEO component here, and it was just really interesting to see that, you know, tangibly. And it was actually my song "Say You Are" that got added. So isn't that interesting? My song about drama became the song that the algorithm picked up amidst the latest internet drama concerning me. Fancy that. Oh, and I also had a very interesting streaming week on Apple Music. Check out these numbers. I certainly had a Hulk Hogan number of streams and Shazams, if you look at it like that. So, yeah, I mean, is that a metaphor for Destiny's audience? Maybe. At the end of the day, I think we've all had our fun here. You know, there's a chance that Destiny could react to this video on a stream and just dump on me even more to his increasingly diminishing audience. And if he does so, I'd say, hi, Destiny. Maybe you should listen to some of my music too and dump on that, you know? I would never want to share my original furry pop music to a normie audience. That's just crazy. I don't know why you would even do that. And I saw a couple posts from, you know, the usual haters on social media just mentioning me. You had that idiot Wacky Hijinks literally comparing me to Hitler again. They sure project a lot. I wonder if they're trying to tell us something. And it's always funny when people in this furry fandom deny that I am, like, even a micro-celebrity. Because, like, I mean, if I wasn't at least infamous, why would I have gotten the ire of this big streamer? Oh, and in Destiny's post, where I assume he's just trying to score some easy points, you know, thinking it's, you know, cool to dunk on a furry in 2025, even though that's so 2000 and late, he used a screenshot of my reply to Boof the Bear's tweet, where I mentioned some details about myself, like how much I spent on my suit and stuff. I really think he must have been a fan to have found that. Maybe he likes Boof too, I don't know. I think the replies on Twitter to Destiny's original post about me are better than the ones in the subreddit, because the people are literally like, especially in a place like Twitter/X, where it's kind of its own kind of right-wing, you know, shithole now, the people are divided. What is it worse to be? A liberal? A furry? Or, as per the latest Destiny drama, a groomer? I had a kick out of that. Oh, and there was that one funny Reddit comment, well, I made it funny, where someone posted the penguin meme, "No furries allowed," and I said, that's fascism, which, that's what fascism is. Gotta love that Destiny's fans both can't help themselves from saying slurs, don't know what fascism is, and are the least creative people on the planet, which figures, you know? I guess if you spend all your time watching a stream of someone yapping, you probably don't have a lot going on up here, you know? No, not a lot of priorities. So, I guess that's pretty much it. I do kind of want to share a bit more of a vulnerability to the audience for the rest of this video. So, if you'll bear with me, let's scare the normies a bit. Because honestly, I don't really have the spoons for this. And I'm not saying that I got like harassed or bombarded by Destiny fans after this post, because I honestly didn't even know about it until the next day when one of my own fans messaged me and said, "Hey Cassidy, have you seen this?" And I had not. Because as I said in my own post on the subject, Destiny's tweet has less engagement than most of the furry drama that I've been in. Which is kind of incredible, isn't it? But even still, his post about me has like the most likes of anything he's posted for like the last several months. So again, as it is with the furry fandom, it is with normie political streamers. Mentioning Cassidy Civet, the spicy brown furry pop star, is a guaranteed way to give your post some traction. But really, I just want to get a little bit serious here. I am incredibly angry right now with how the world is continuing to just sort of posture and virtue signal about stopping the genocide in Palestine. It's driving me crazy. It's not something that started on October 7th. It's been going on for like 75, 80 years and longer, you know? And I feel terrible sitting idly by, you know? I would join the flotilla, honestly, but I think I'm too brown for that. I don't know if I would survive, but I just want to do something, you know? I want to put myself in the action. I've been to protests and, you know, I've put myself out there for public office. So I'm on the record being pro-Palestine. I love that the politicians up here are still living in the fantasy of a two-state solution. The Israeli parliament itself said that it no longer supports a two-state solution. So when I say my personal view, I actually think it's time to start discussion about a three-state solution. Jerusalem needs to be a holy city-state like the Vatican. Israel is taking advantage of the fact that they are not in the ICC. They don't have to listen to these courts. They are getting away with it right now because they are being aided by countries like the United States to genocide the Palestinian people. And you want to talk about liberalism? I know Destiny refers to himself as the omni-liberal, but we don't need liberals right now. We need progressives. We need peacemakers. Neoliberalism is why we are where we are, because financial greed and ever constant growth is the reason we are here. The reason that Israel is flattening Gaza is because they are wanting to seize the land. Just this week, there was a leaked document proposing what Trump had said many months ago about the Riviera of the Middle East being set up in Gaza. This is a plan that we now can see before our eyes. So what's being done? Our national broadcaster here in Canada, CBC, just posted a video where they interviewed a starving child. And before they had even the time to edit and post the interview, the kid died. I don't know what you say to that. Like, look at this title. It's like starvation. It like they like showed the kid within inches of his life, and then they cut to the mom, and she's like, "Yeah, we lost him." I don't know how the world and the West can recover from that. And you know, I am proud to have been on the side of the Palestinians since day one. Since before October 7th. These are a people that are being systematically killed and erased, and this project will not stop until Israel captures all of Palestine, West Bank included, and we know now that the ministers in the government, in Bibi Netanyahu's government, want to push for greater Israel, which involves annexing land everywhere from Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Saudi Arabia. It's about as blatant as it gets. And yeah, it just makes me sick. And I hope that, you know, all of these wonderful, colorful distractions that people have on the internet with, you know, debate things or Jubilee videos or whatever it is, I hope that will do something for the hole that people have in their souls right now, to not be getting angrier about this. You know, you can only be pacified by consumerism until you run out of money, and a lot of people don't have that anymore. So Thankfully, YouTube is free for now if you can, sit through like 8 ads or whatever the hell Google is forcing down people's throats. Oh, Google also made a deal with Israel recently. Great! Everything is corrupt. Everything is bad. I'm just fed up, guys. I don't really have a lot else to say. So, yeah. Free Palestine.